Welcome everybody, Namaste. This evening we're participating in a commemoration service for the life and legacy of Swami Kriyananda. It's our joy to be here with you today, Nayaswami Dhyana and myself, Nayaswami Jaya. Let's begin this evening with a prayer. O Infinite Spirit, Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, beloved God, Great Masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Gurudev, Paramahansa Yogananda, beloved friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Beloved Masters, awaken within us the sincere desire to dedicate our lives to Thee, to serve Thee, and to share Thee with all. Om Shanti, Shanti. Welcome again this evening. Dhyanaji and I are pleased to be with you. We're broadcasting this evening from Ananda Village, where together we're here celebrating or commemorating this day of Swamiji's passing only 3 years ago. It's natural when a great soul passes, such as Swami Kriyananda, to look back on their life, to find those things that are inspiring to us, to honor his life, and to look to the lessons that can be drawn from a great soul's life. In this case particularly, Swamiji left a fantastic legacy that we can look back upon. All of the great works that he did, the things that he started, the projects, the people that he inspired, and I look within myself and I see the lessons that I was able to draw from his life because I had the good fortune to be in his presence for many, many years. But Swami, if I were to look back, I remember one thing particularly he would say always when we would hold commemoration services for our Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, or for any of the great masters, and on Christmas for Jesus Christ. Swami would say again and again and again, he said, remember, the great ones come not to show us how great they were, but to show us our potential and how great we could be. And so certainly in the case of Swami Kriyananda, we look back on his life, and this was his mission as well, was to awaken within us our potential to be disciples. Because if we were to look at all of those characteristics and those things that Swami did in his life, the one thing that stands out, I think, for everybody who was in association with him, who had the karma to be in his life, was to look back and notice the quality of discipleship. He wanted to be a good disciple, and in his life, I think when we look back, he was a good disciple. And I think it's in this quality that exemplifies his life. Paramahansa Yogananda came as an avatar. And his mission was to reach out to millions and millions of souls. He was predicted at his birth, Lahiri Mahashai, when he blessed Master as only a baby. He said, Yogananda, this soul will be a great engine carrying many souls back to God. And it turned out to be. Master came and his work reached millions, and it continues to reach millions. And it's an example of a great work of an avatar. But all of those millions of which you and I and all of us here are participating as disciples of that great master, it was Swamiji whose mission was to show us an example of how we could be perfect disciples, how we could dedicate our lives in service to the great master and thereby find our own freedom, just as Swamiji was able to find that freedom through his perfect discipleship with Master. Swamiji had a burning desire in his life. He said he had two, actually. He said one, the first desire that is very obviously evident, is that he had a burning desire to know God. He wanted to know truth. He wasn't able to conceptualize what truth was. How do you describe truth? And he couldn't exactly say it was God that he wanted, but he did want to know, what is the meaning of this life? What's the truth of this life? And it was that quest for truth that drew him to Master through the autobiography of a yogi. And as we know, he immediately, as he said, took the first bus to Los Angeles to become a disciple of Master. But he also said that he had a second desire as well. It was his nature to want to share. And so whenever he found something that was inspiring to him, when he found something that he enjoyed in life, he naturally wanted to share that with other people. And when he became a disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, I think it was something that Master recognized in Swamiji, that quality of wanting to share something with others. And because he recognized that, he was able to draw out of Swamiji that ability and those qualities that would allow him to spread to other people, to share these teachings of the great Guru, his teachings, Paramahansa Yogananda's teachings, with other people. And so he drew that quality out of Swamiji. It was his nature. It wasn't something that was foreign to him. It was his very nature. And when he was able to use his own nature to be able to express his Guru's teachings, he found fulfillment in that. And by perfecting that nature, it became his pathway to liberation. It was his pathway to God, is to express that and share Master's teachings. Master said he needed instruments, or he said God needs instruments to be able to affect his work in this world. And so it was that Swami Kriyananda became the instrument for Master's teachings, being able to share that with other people. Swamiji said that Master was very explicit about this with him. He said, and he not only suggested that Swamiji share these teachings, he commanded it of him. He said, "You must not disappoint me." Master said to Swamiji very strongly, "You must not disappoint me." This was something that was his task to do, and Swamiji lovingly and eagerly took on that task. And thereby he found, through sharing these teachings, through expressing his nature in that way, he found that in the expression of that sharing, he found that what happened? He became in tune with his Guru's teachings. He became in tune with his Guru because he allowed himself to be the instrument of his Guru's teaching, and he shared that with others. And so it is with each of us. We find our true nature, and if we express that true nature in Guru's name, we find that we too become liberated in that process because we become attuned to the Guru's teaching. We become the instrument through which those blessings can flow. When I first read the autobiography of a yogi, I immediately recognized something in that great work. I felt hope that there was of the great potential that was within me that I didn't know how to express. But the other thing I noticed, that although when I read the autobiography of a yogi, I couldn't understand all of those teachings. They were too far beyond my experience of life, but I did feel something. I felt a great sense that this was a man of true sincerity who was writing this great book. And it was that pulled me to Master's teachings. I didn't necessarily believe what he was saying, although much of it I did. But you know by reading that there are things that are far beyond our understanding. But yet I recognized that here was a man who was speaking truth. And it was something similar when I met Swami Kriyananda as well. he was a man that he was a man of great energy. He was a man of great willpower. He was friendly. He was a man of joy, and also he was a man who wanted to share his guru's teachings. Now, as I said, I didn't necessarily know if all of those teachings were true or not, but yet I could feel in Swamiji's enthusiasm to share those that was magnetic. It was attractive to me. I wanted to believe it all, and I wanted to know it. And here was a man who was eager to share that with me. And so immediately I was drawn into that. Well, Swamiji, in his eagerness and his enthusiasm to share Master's teachings, he always was coming up with projects, one project after another project after another. And I have to admit, some of his projects I was suspicious about. In a sense, this isn't going to work, Swamiji. My mind would say that. I wouldn't say that to Swamiji personally, but I had my doubts that some of them I didn't understand. I didn't understand what he was trying to always achieve. And I had that little bit of no saying in my mind for some of the things. But yet, I did them. He would ask me to do something. He would suggest we do this. He would suggest we do that. And I would say, oh, I don't know. But okay, I would do it. And I look back and I said, now why? Why did I do it? Because I tend to follow my own directions perhaps too much sometimes. But I was willing to say, okay, I'll give it a try. And that was the important thing. I said, yes, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm willing to give it a try. And why did I say that? Is because I felt Swamiji's sincerity. I honestly knew, without a doubt in my heart, that here was a man who 100% had dedicated his life to serving his guru. And whatever he said, whether it was exactly thought out or not, I knew he was sincere in his discipleship of wanting to share Master's teachings. He was a disciple, and I wanted to be a disciple too. And I looked to him and I said, if it's good enough for Swamiji, well, I'll give it a try. And I think this is something that there are many lessons that we can draw from Swamiji's life. But this one of being willing to say, yes, I'm going to try. I don't know if this is exactly the right thing for me, but I look at the alternatives in my life, and certainly it's worked for this man, it's worked for others. Obviously it worked for Master to say yes to his guru, to seek God. Why not give it a try in my own life? And looking to the inspiration of others, and particularly in this case to Swamiji, I was able to go forward because of that willingness. And the willingness was there because I could recognize the sincerity in Swamiji's efforts. And as it turned out, more often than not, those projects bore fruit. And he would never insist that I do it just because he was a disciple. He could have said, well, look, I know better than you. I lived with Master. I knew what Master wanted, so you should be able to do this too. He never took that approach. Never took that approach. Now, if you were very, very close to him, sometimes he said, look, Jaya, you need to do this because it's for your own welfare. And it's sometimes a little bit like that. But by that time, he knew that I was willing to do whatever he wanted me to do. But he never, for the public or for others, they would come to him. He would always tried to convince them through sweet reason, he would say. He would never use his position because he didn't see himself as higher or lower than other people. He was a fellow disciple. He approached people in that spirit that you love the Master, I love the Master, together we love the Master. I've just simply been doing this a little bit longer than you have. Here's what I've discovered. Here's what I've found out. And in that spirit, he would convince. And you could feel in that spirit, you could feel his attunement with Guru. And by the end of Swami's life, I think in that attunement, which he stressed over and over again, it came to pass that really there was no Kriyananda there anymore. It was only Master. It was only Master that lived in that form that was born as Kriyananda. But Kriyananda, you might say, had exited the scene, and Master alone was there at the end. Dhyana now.
Namaskar. It's a joy for us to share with you all. There's a long meditation happening now for 6 hours here at Ananda Village, attuning to Swamiji. And when I first came here, I was straight out of college, and I read Autobiography of a Yogi, but I didn't know very much. And when I met Swamiji, he said to me, "This is your home, and you should think about living here." And I thought, he doesn't even know who I am. But he knew my soul, and it wasn't really he, and it wasn't really me. It was God flowing through Swamiji, touching my heart, touching my soul. And I think many people at Ananda considered and consider Swamiji their best friend, and that he was their dearest and nearest, because he held that out to everyone. He held your soul's nature up. And he was so expansive, so loving in that expansion. And he wanted to, as Jaya was saying, share with everyone who was open. And so he would tour around America, and then he went to Europe. He said, it's time for us to take these teachings to people in Europe. And so he toured around Europe and went to many countries there teaching Master's teachings. Then he said, no, we should go to Africa. And so some of us went to Africa to take Master's teachings. And what about Australia? And of course in India. And this was Swamiji's nature. And I'm not speaking personally. It was the divine light of the great ones and God flowing through him, touching everyone. And when a great one, such as Swamiji, leaves this earth, they leave their magnetism, they leave their mantle, so to speak, they leave their Shakti, they leave grace, they leave blessings, they leave their seeds of bliss and joy and light. And those remain with those who are open, those who want to serve, those who are seeking the light. And so here I am at Ananda Village, and as I walk through the property here, I think, what a beautiful place Swamiji's created for our attunement with God. It's not good in itself, it's good because it reminds us of God. I was there walking through the Crystal Hermitage Gardens and seeing the beautiful tulips, and there were 2,000 people there last weekend, and not Ananda people from everywhere. That's because people want to come and see beauty in nature. So Swamiji created places of beauty where people can just come and feel God in their hearts through nature. And as we listen to, we go to the other, of course, the centers and the colonies and the communities, and we see people everywhere so happy they can live a life in attunement with God. Where would we be otherwise? And as we listen to Swamiji's music, or sing it in the choir, or sing kirtan, and you just feel so uplifted and so much in tune with the light. And he left that vibration through all the books. Those books give a blessing as you read any of his works on Master's teachings, as we practice the techniques, as we serve. And before Swamiji left his body, a couple of years before, I asked him in a satsang, I said, Swamiji, you've helped us so much in our lives. And I said, when you're not here anymore, will you still be able to help us? And he said to me very sweetly, but he was talking to the whole group, and I think he was talking to the whole world. I don't think I know. He said, I really hope so. And I thought later, he wants to, and he will, if we can stay in tune. And so the attunement through reading something maybe from Swamiji or Master every day, even a line or a paragraph, or doing an affirmation from the books that we have every day are listening to Swamiji's talks, Master's talks, going to satsangs, serving, getting on the online, seeing the online classes, doing yoga postures, Ananda Yoga, teaching in the schools, and all the things that we do, they keep us in tune with the vibration and the ray of Master that Swamiji brought, and that he left in every area. And those are like seeds that are planted, and if we go and we look for them every day, we find Swamiji there. We find his joy, his pleasure, his smile, his energy, his love. And that was Master's and Divine Mother's love that flowed through Swamiji. And in the things that we are doing now, all around the world, we're continuing to do his work. He's commissioned us now, as Master commissioned him. He's passed the baton on to the disciples, and it's for us now to continue to take this ray out. And in India particularly, I was thinking of, as we have all the talks of Nayaswamis, Jyotish and Devi as they go around India, as the various teachers, Jaya, myself, and all the many wonderful teachers we have in India now, as we go all around India spreading the message of Master, and as we go online and reach so many people through the teachings, and as we have the Paramahansa Yogananda Trust, public charitable trust, that's reaching the people in Vrindavan, the widows, the people who are being trained in skills so that they can earn a living. This is what Master wants. As we put the movies out, The Answer is coming out this year, and it'll be at the Kumbh Mela, shown there to many millions of people. And the Finding Happiness movie, these are reaching people everywhere. And as we continue in all the ways of service, the healing prayers and all the classes and satsangs and all the things that are happening, this is what will continue the message, the techniques, the practices, the teachings of this great yoga master, Swami Kriyananda ji. And let us remember, it is not us. He told us many times, behind this work is not, it's not my work, it's not your work. Swamiji said, behind this work is Master and Babaji. That is their power. And they are guiding this work. Our job is to remain in tune, to pray to them, to call them, to ask for their guidance, and to move forward step by step, continuing to share in the same wonderful way that Swamiji showed us through his example with people everywhere, on every level, as we can and as they will receive it. And so at this very holy time, as we're feeling Swamiji's blessings and his vibrations and his joy and his love, as he said at the end of his life, he said, I'm mainly feeling God's bliss now. And he said, it's not enough for us to just share on a mental level. He said, we have to give God's bliss, God's vibrations, God's love. May he bless you. God bless you.